Happy birthday, little
Ain't
Duval.
going back and forth with you. I'm
Morning, everybody.
You Negroes.
It's DJ NV, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Let's get in some front page news. Now, quickly in sports, the Nuggets lead 108-95. They won on Friday, so they lead the series 3-1.
They should be wrapping that up tonight, right?
Yeah, tonight is 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on ABC Game 5.
In Denver, it'll be the first time Denver's ever won an NBA championship. If they win tonight, that'd be fun to watch.
All right, now let's get to some news. Good morning, Tez.
Good morning, DJ Envy, Charlamagne the God.
Peace,
and happy birthday to your babies, DJ Envy.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, well, let's start right off with I-95 in Philly. I seen it collapse. What the hell happened?
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm sure a lot of the family saw that on yesterday. An elevated section of Interstate 95 collapsed early Sunday in Philadelphia after a tanker truck, possibly carrying 8,500 gallons of petroleum-based product, caught fire. Now, the fire broke out around 6 a.m. underneath I-95. Fire officials said that the flames were under control by Sunday evening. Let's listen to what Governor Shapiro said at the press conference. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Remarkable devastation. And I found myself, thanking the Lord that no motorists who were on I-95 were injured or died. Just a remarkably devastating sight. One that our first responders, law enforcement, and others contained very, very quickly. They got people out of harm's way. And now, under leadership of Secretary Carroll and others, the hard work of clearing the site and rebuilding it will be underway, and we're going to move as quickly as possible.
Damn, did they say anything about if there was somebody driving the truck?
Yeah, they said that, of course, the story is still developing, but as of yet, they said they're working to identify if anyone was caught in the fire in the collapse, and it's not known yet if the driver of the truck was in the fire there when the fire began. It's really interesting that I'm so glad nobody was hurt because it's actually a pretty big highway, and so that was interesting that nobody, I guess, was on the highway at that time. So
absolutely.
That's scary to watch a whole highway just collapse. It makes you think about the bridges and everything else. Wasn't that what the whole infrastructure bill was about?
Supposed to be.
I guess it takes time to rebuild all that stuff, right?
It does take some time. Absolutely.
Yeah, now also we got to talk about this $45 million misconduct settlement. What happened in this situation?
Yeah, many of you may recall hearing about this story on last year. Wanted to give you a quick update. Richard Randy Cox, he injured his neck and he was paralyzed on June 19th, 2022. He was at a Juneteenth party and the police, just as a side note, the police showed up. He didn't cause any types of problems or anything like that. And apparently, they arrested him due to him being a prior felon, but it was not any type of altercation, just disturbing them during their Juneteenth celebration. And when the police van transported Cox to prison, they slammed on the brakes. Many of you may remember that viral story. Because they had no seatbelt, Cox couldn't brace himself because his hands were cuffed. He flew head first into the metal divider between the driver's section and the prisoner's area. Now, the video footage that many of you saw online showed Cox begging for help, and the officers accused him of being drunk and not believing that he was injured. Police put him in a wheelchair, brought him into the cell, so they totally ignored his injury. Well, the update is Attorney Benjamin Crump was retained as a civil rights attorney last year because obviously that was a violation of civil rights. And Attorney Crump has secured a $45 million settlement. It is the largest police misconduct settlement in the history of America. And in addition to the historic settlement, the two police officers were fired for violating officer conduct rules on upholding the law, integrity, trustworthiness, courtesy, and respect. And in addition to that, the New Haven Police Department instituted a comprehensive set of policy reforms. So they updated the policies and procedures on the transfer of people in custody and required department-wide training on duty to intervene. So Mr. Cox can now get the resources he needs for his medical care and to assist him with his two young children.
Well, God bless Richard Cox. I'm glad he's getting that money, but I hate how he had to get it because I'm sure he would rather spend all that money to not be paralyzed.
Correct.
And I would also like to see those officers never work in law enforcement ever again. I hope this isn't one of those situations where they got fired from, this department, but then get shipped to another department somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
I know we ain't got much time, but just quick question. Where does that $45 million come from? Did I miss that? Because is it the taxpayers' money? Because I can't see the police department having just $45 million sitting in the stash.
Yeah, great question. And also, Envy, just as I'm glad you brought that up, because as the last thing I was going to put in was talking about qualified immunity, making sure that comes from the police officers themselves, because obviously they don't have 45 million. But just so you know, 30 million of the total settlement will be covered by New Haven's insurance. The remainder will be paid by the city. And let me say this, because you'll hear a lot of people say, oh, that's unfortunate that the city, has to pay for it. One, we want qualified immunity so that police officers will be held responsible, have their own insurance so that it's not on the taxpayers. But what also happens with this, Envy, is when the taxpayers have to pay for this, maybe, just maybe, there will be more accountability with the police departments, because now the voters are going to put more pressure on the city and on the police department to not go around killing black folks, hurting black folks.
And it comes out of their pensions too, right? In the future.
No. That's what qualified immunity is all about, trying to make sure that they're held responsible in that way. So as it stands now, it's normally just the insurance department. The insurance that the the police department has, and then the taxpayers. So qualified immunity, which is a larger thing to unpack, that is where you can start talking about how can the police officers themselves be held liable.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. If they get rid of qualified immunity, it'll come out of their pensions.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's messed up. So the taxpayers got to pay when the police mess up. We got to pay for $15 million of that money.
But that's why I always said, if they get rid
crazy.
of qualified immunity, then they can hit their pockets. If you hit somebody in the pockets, they have they know they might get some prison time, they'll straighten up.
All right.
Hit them in the pockets.
Right. But the city should make them straighten up too. Again, this is where the voters need to be involved and put pressure on the police department to say, hey, y'all need to get this together. So either way, it should produce change either way.
And also, I just want to point out that Richard Cox is an amazing porn name. Dropping the clues bombs from Richard Cox.
All right, that's front page
amazing
news. Tez, we'll see in a little bit.
Amazing porn name.
This is amazing.
Get it off your chest. 800-585-1051.
That is amazing.
If you need to vent, phone lines are wide open. Let us know how your weekend was. Again, 800-585-1051. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning. Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. Now let's get in some front page news. Good morning, Tez.
Good morning, DJ Envy, Charlamagne the God.
Yo.
All right, just quickly tonight, NBA Nuggets take on the Heat. Game 5, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Of course, the Nuggets lead the series 3-1.
Let's wrap this up tonight, Denver. Nothing left to see here. I love Miami Heat. I love Miami Heat culture. But no need to.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. No need to prolong the inevitable. You know what I'm saying? Let's just go ahead and wrap this up tonight in Denver. Because I like seeing people win championships at home. Especially being that this will be Denver's first championship.
Yeah.
So, go ahead and wrap that up, Denver.
Yeah, they've been playing hard. They deserve it. Now, let's get right to the news. Now, New York City announces minimum wage for app food delivery workers.
Yes, on Friday, you guys talked about to tip or not to tip before getting your food at Uber Eats. And again, clarity, you actually can tip before you get your food. But most people, they bypass that and they wait to tip after the food. But it is clear that Uber Eats is a big topic of discussion. And the timing was perfect after that story on Friday, because Sunday, New York City announced a new minimum pay rate for app food delivery workers amid a rise in the use of services like Uber Eats and DoorDash since the pandemic. Now, Manhattan's 60,000 food delivery workers currently make on average about $7.09 an hour. The city said that the new pay rate will allow them to eventually earn at least $19.19 per hour. The pay will increase to $17.96 an hour on June 12th and increase again to nearly $20 an hour in April 2025. Now, DoorDash, they said they are not with this. They are considering litigation to push back against the city's, they call it an extreme policy. They say this going beyond the standards of other industries that other industries are held to, but they are not opposed to a minimum wage for delivery workers. And Uber Eats said that the city is not being honest with delivery workers, because they said that basically the city is telling app companies to eliminate jobs, discourage tipping, force couriers to go faster and accept more trips, because that is the only way they're going to be able to pay for this.
I don't think this is going to play out well. And the reason I say that is, if you think about it, right? If you order McDonald's, right, and your McDonald's meal is, let's say, $5 or $6. Now with minimum wage, that's gonna bump your McDonald's order that's $5-6 plus delivery fee probably to about $22 for McDonald's. And I think less people are gonna be using the app. More people are gonna say, you know what, I'd rather just drive to McDonald's than pay $22 for a number two. You know what I mean? I think I don't think it's gonna work out right for people.
If the companies don't want to do this test, who's gonna fight for the workers? And what do they have to say?
Yeah, Mayor Eric Adams, he said the delivery workers have constantly delivered for us, and now it's time we deliver for them. He said this will guarantee workers and their families an opportunity to earn a living, access to greater economic stability, and keep the city's restaurant industry thriving. Now, Joshua Wood, he went a little bit further. He is a member of the Workers' Justice Project, and he said that people view delivery workers as dirty, smelly, and taking up too much space. He goes on to say they want us to be the invisible, right? He said they want us to be the invisible army that gets what they need done, but they don't want to pay attention to how the sausage gets made.
Damn. And to your question, Envy, I believe people will pay extra and not mind paying extra, because the reality is you're paying for your time. You call in Uber Eats because you don't want to leave the house.
But if it's to the point where it might make sense for me to go get it myself or a person to go get it myself, it will. And I also did notice that when you go to a lot of these restaurants, when you order on Uber Eats or DoorDash, the prices are more expensive, which is crazy to me. Like if you go to a restaurant, let's say it might be, $7 for a meal, but they're charging $9 when it's Uber Eats and DoorDash, on top of delivery fee, on top of tax, and then a tip, and then a minimum wage. I think a lot of people will say, you know what, I'd rather just go get my food myself. Let's talk about New York City charging drivers to go downtown, to drive downtown.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, again, New York City is getting a charge on, looks like here lately. Each day, 700,000 cars, taxis, and trucks pour into lower Manhattan. And New York actually has the worst gridlock in the United States. So President Joe Biden's administration is set to allow New York City to move forward with a landmark program that will toll vehicles entering lower Manhattan. Now, the toll is commonly called congestion pricing, and it works like any other toll, but because it charges people to drive in a traffic choked area, it will be the first program of its kind in the United States. Proposals range from charging vehicles $9 up to $23 an hour. Yeah, that's a huge toll. So yeah, $9 to $23 during peak hours, and it's set to go into effect next spring. If this is successful, congestion pricing will help with infrastructure and climate change challenges, and it could be a model for other U.S. cities. The Los Angeles Times went on record to say that Los Angeles should watch, learn, and go next.
Man, New York City, I'm sick of y'all charging for everything, and this city doesn't reflect all the money this city is making. New York City should look like Dubai, okay? But it doesn't. Based off what we pay in tolls and tickets and everything else, it should look like Dubai, but it doesn't. In fact, some parts of the city actually look like doo-doo, okay? We already pay too much in tolls. We already pay too much in tickets, and there's nothing about this city that reflects all the money that we spend in this city.
And then for people that don't know, every time we come to work, it's $23 for toll.
Come on, man.
And then parking is anywhere from $750 to $1,000 a month to pay for parking.
Come on, man.
And these are not like exotic lots where you parking in the car. This is just your typical dirty lot.
We just had a lot collapse a couple of months ago. What are we talking about?
Absolutely.
This city is trash. But based off the millions of dollars I know this city makes every day, like I said, this city should look like Dubai. It should look futuristic. Yes. And y'all got the nerve to be fighting against the casino in Times Square. I would much rather have, Rock Nation and SL Green put a beautiful casino in the middle of Times Square, a big Caesar's Palace. I'd rather that than what's currently happening. At least it'll look like our money's going towards something.
But not only that, some of that money that they make from the casino will go back to the city.
I would hope so.
Yes, but like the fact that we see all these rats and rodents, and the fact that there's garbage everywhere, like you said, I go to some of these other countries to DJ, and these countries look beautiful.
Charlotte, North Carolina, clean, beautiful. Dallas, clean,
so let me ask you this, and you agree? So Chicago's the second largest city. I love living in Chicago.
Chicago,
the downtown is beautiful, immaculate, especially compared to New York. But let me ask you, so the point they made was that this new toll is going to help with climate control. So, we have the pollution, issue last week. Obviously, it was because of a fire, but they did point out climate control. And they said it's going to help with infrastructure, like, again, the collapsed bridge that we see in Philadelphia. So are you saying that that's all cap? That really that money's not going to go towards
I definitely think it's cap because, we ain't even talk about taxes, Envy.
Yeah,
Think about the high tax rate that you have in New York City.
Right.
So the high tax rate, the tolls, all this money the city is making, and you're going to tell me another toll is going to be what finally makes them start investing in infrastructure?
It's going to make people leave New York. It's going to make people leave New York.
People already leaving.
Yeah, it's going to make people leave New York because they're not going to be able to afford it. So it's gonna make people leave New York City again, and they're gonna go to other places like your North Carolina, your South Carolina, your Atlantas again, your Florida.
That happened during COVID. That great migration been happening. Mad people left.
People came back
City.
though. People came back though. People are gonna continue to leave, and what's gonna happen is gonna hurt people. You're gonna see a lot of these buildings foreclosing and closing. It's gonna be nasty. It's gonna be too much money. They're getting too greedy.
Well, one point that I want to bring out, the taxi and rideshare drivers will definitely be hurt by this. They're already struggling to make ends meet. The MTA said that this congestion pricing could reduce demand for taxis by up to 17%.
Dang.
Jesus. All right. Well, that is your front page news. Teslin, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And make sure you subscribe to Teslin Figaro's podcast, the Straight Shot No Chaser podcast on the Black Effect iHeartRadio podcast network, and follow Teslin at Teslin Figaro on all platforms.
All right. Now, when we come back, Method Man will be joining us. We're going to kick it with Method Man, so don't move. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.